Well, I love the message. Our next couple of guests, I'm very excited to welcome in from Maryland, Christine and Aaron, talk about their book, Navigating the Road to Infertility. Thanks for joining us, you two.
Thank you for having us.
Now, let's talk about your whole road now. Let's start about how did you first get to the point of getting to IVF, Christine?
Well, like any couple, shortly after marriage, we tried to start having a child. 2 years in, we found out I had a coconut-sized uterine fibroid tumor, and Aaron had varicocele,
which is great.
which means he had large veins in his testicles. The only side effect is infertility. So we each had respective surgeries thinking, oh, that'll solve the problem. At my post-op appointment, my doctor handed me a folder that said IVF and told me our chances of conceiving naturally were highly unlikely.
And how's it gone through the IVF process for you both? How's that been?
It was tough. It takes a toll on you emotionally, physically with my body. It's a mountain of medication.
Sure.
Aaron has learned how to inject me with 3 different needles each day. He's the king of that. I couldn't do it without him.
Yeah.
But the IVF process was at least logical and sequential, unlike the foster care process.
Okay, so let's get that. So at some point, the two of you decided that you would look at the foster avenue. Was it hard to get to that point to make that decision? And what happened after you did make the decision?
Absolutely, because we're both in education. I have never thought I had to have my own kids to love them. But when you're faced with, naturally, you're not going to have a child, it hits you. Wow, can I really foster to adopt? So we did this in between, right before IVF, and we were placed with 2 little girls who loved us, who we loved.
They were amazing.
They were amazing. We were ready to adopt them. Unfortunately, due to the system and the way that it works, they were taken out of our care.
I can't even imagine that. Now, maybe talk a little bit about that process. You received a phone call, and from there, what happened?
Well, we signed on for training, so it's not just an instant decision to foster. You have to do 29 hours of training. You have to do a home safe study where a stranger comes in and analyzes your marriage, your childhood. You have to have a home inspection.
They ask very personal questions.
It's very invasive. And then we, unlike other people fostering, said from the beginning, we only want cases going to adoption.
Fair. And then you got the call, and there was a change of heart or change of mind later on.
When we got the call, it was an emergency placement, so we were told it was adoption.
Okay.
Sadly, 2 weeks later, we found out that wasn't the case. We were already in love with the girls. We still tried to make it work. But unfortunately, the system ignored recommendations from our little girls' therapists who both had disabilities.
Now, moving forward, did you try that avenue again, or has that door been closed for you emotionally?
That door's been closed.
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we found out once the little girls left our care, the littlest one, even after our advocacy, ended up in a mental health institution.
Oh, my God. Just terrible, very terrible story. Now, what led you to putting this book down, putting pen to paper, Navigating the Road to Infertility?
This is a topic that's not talked about enough. And you start to feel shame and guilt when your body won't work the way you want it to. The male is never talked about in regards to infertility. So we wanted to we're very open people. We're very honest through every portion of it, and we really feel like we've run the gamut. So we wanted to let viewers know it's okay. There are 7.3 million American women in the U.S., 1 in 8 couples, and 5 million Canadians this affects.
Yeah, it's amazing. My wife and I went through it, and it's so hard. You don't want to talk about it. Everyone else is getting pregnant around you. It's just amazing. It is amazing how that works out. What's the feedback been on the book from other couples suffering from the same as yourselves and myself?
Well, it's like you're a part of a secret club. And so people who have gone through it are so responsive to the book. You know, thank you so much. It's made us feel so much better. After the book was written, we had a miscarriage on our second round of IVF. And again, just put our story out there because we just want to know that we're there and there's a network of people out there experiencing this.
This will be my last question. We have to ask the question. There are many suffering out there. What advice do you have for people at home who are watching right now who are suffering through infertility?
Don't blame yourself.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. Surround yourself with supportive people who've been through it. Have fertility specialists that you trust. And give yourself the freedom to experience all the emotions you go through.
Yeah, there are a massive range of emotions. Now, listen, both of you, Christine and Aaron, thank you very much for sharing your story, for sharing your book, Navigating the Road for Infertility. It's a very good read for anyone suffering or known who's suffering through infertility. Thanks a lot, you two, and best of luck.
Thank you.